Hello. We have already covered chapter number 1, where we covered the essential features of GST law, right? Now today we would do certain important terms. We would see what are the definitions given for various important terms here in GST. Why the study of terms is important? Because unless until we know the real meaning of the terms used, it would be very difficult to understand the law in the appropriate manner. So we do need to understand the terms appropriately, the way they are conveying their meaning in the law, right? The important terms which I am going to cover today in this session, they are many, and I would start with the first term, goods. Okay. Now please note that I am not going sequentially here, but the way I have selected terms here, it is on the basis of their relevance. Okay. Now what we are studying goods and services tax. So the common sense says that first we need to know the meanings of goods and the meaning of service. So first I have taken the term goods and then service and then the other terms on the basis of their relevance. Now please note that there are certain other terms which are very important terms, but those terms are not covered here. Why? I tell you that. For example, a term like input tax. Okay. Now we have a full chapter on this concept of input tax and taking credit of input tax. Okay. We have a full chapter on that. Now when we would do that chapter, we would cover the definition as well as the other parts of input tax. Okay. So I am not taking that term, today here in this session. Okay. Another example is a very important term, supply. But again, for supply you have a complete chapter on it. The next session would be on supply. So in that session I would tell you the definition as well as the other aspect of supply. Okay. So today in this session I am covering only those terms which are very generalized and which are not specific to any particular chapters ahead. Okay. So those kind of broad terms, okay, which are being used in all chapters, but nowhere you would get the meaning of those terms. So I am covering those kind of terms right here, and the terms which are specific to a particular chapter would be dealt with only when we would be studying that chapter. Is that clear? Okay. Now starting with the first one, it is section, please see, section 252, goods. Now, why the terms are already written on the board? The answer is because, writing takes much of time. Okay. So, the terms, the definitions are already given on the board. Now, the only task left is to, make you understand about them. Discussion about these terms that we would do now. Okay. So the first term is goods, given under section 252. Now the definition goes like this. Definition says every kind of movable property. Please see, goods. So goods includes each and every kind of movable property, all kind of movable properties, but except money and securities. Okay. Further, it includes actionable claims and growing crops or maybe grass or any other thing attached with the land, with the earth, which is agreed by the parties that it would be severed, it would be cut down, and then a transaction would be done for those goods, for those things. Okay. Now this is definition. Now please note, to understand, or if you wish to remember a particular definition, the best way of remembering and understanding a definition is to break it into various parts. Okay. Now, if you see the definition of goods, there are three parts basically. The first part says that goods means or it includes every kind of movable property. Good means part number one, every kind of movable property. Part number two, but excludes money and securities. Part number three, but it specifically includes, it also includes what? Actionable claims and crops or maybe any other thing attached with the earth which is agreed to be severed, to be cut before making the transaction of supply. Okay, so these are the three parts of this definition of goods. Goods means everything of movable nature, all kind of movable property. Part number two, except money and securities. Monies and securities are not taken into goods. Money not goods, securities are not taken as goods. Part number third, and includes actionable claims. Okay, actionable claim is something which is specifically included here in the definition. You might raise a question, sir, when the part 1 it says that all kind of movable property is included here in goods, then why specifically given for this that it also include actionable claims? Now actionable claims is something which is not very not having a very clear cut impression of it. Actionable claim, it is such a term which has been interpreted in various ways. In fact, there are so many case laws which are going on in various courts based on this term actionable claims. Now if I give you a very general, a very broad kind of definition of actionable claims, it is actionable claim means a claim in a movable property which would be enforced through a court. If you have a claim onto a movable property and you can enforce your claim through courts, it is called actionable claim. Okay. Now, if you remember, the first time you studied this term, it was when you were in your 11th standard. In commerce or accounts, you studied actionable claims. There you studied it in relation to debtors. Okay. So, if I ask somebody what is the meaning of actionable claims, they give me the examples of debtors. Debtors are actionable claim, right? Now, I give you another definition of actionable claim with respect to this concept of debtors. Now, the definition is actionable claim is a claim to any debt, the claim to a debt. Okay. But what kind of debts are covered? Debts which are other than debts secured through a hypothecation or a pledge of an immovable property. Debts other than the debts which are secured by the hypothecation or pledge of an immovable property, and where the claimant can enforce its claim through a court. That would be called an actionable claim. Okay. The reason actionable claim is specifically shown here under inclusion in this definition is simple, that they want to keep the definition of goods, because it is such a basic thing for GST. They want to keep the definition of goods ample clear without any confusion. Now there is no confusion whether actionable claims they are part of goods or not. It is utmost clear now. Actionable claims, they are undoubtedly part of goods. They are included in goods. Okay. So now do you remember what is the definition? The definition is good means every kind of movable property except money and securities, but also includes actionable claims and growing crops, etc. I told you what growing crops which are attached with the earth, but the agreement is that when you are selling those crops, you are going to sever it, you are going to cut it down and would give it to the party. Okay, so this is the definition for goods. First definition, goods. Now the second definition is again, if you apply common sense, it should be for service. Okay, so second definition is for service. It is section 2102. The terms are given under section 2, and in subsection 102 it is the definition for services. What is the definition? Service means anything other than goods, money and securities. Please see. Service means anything other than goods, money and securities. So that means in service, goods are not covered, money is not covered, security is not covered. Okay, in relation to good, there cannot be a doubt. If it is a good, it cannot be a service. Okay, so goods are not covered. Money and securities. Money is not a service, even securities are not a service, but it includes, please see further, but includes, there are two specific inclusions here. One with relation to money and second in relation to securities. But includes activity of conversion of currency, the money exchangers, and activity of facilitating transactions in securities, the people, the agent or the brokers who are dealing into various kind of securities. Please see the definition now in full. Services means anything other than goods, money and securities, but includes the activity of conversion of currency. Now please see. In first, we are writing that money is not covered. But since it is something which is related to money, hence it is specifically included in the definition, so that the definition becomes very clear without any ambiguity. Okay. So if you are into an activity where you are, converting a particular currency into a different form of currency, and you are charging a consideration for that, you are providing a service. Your activity is covered under service. Number two, if you are facilitating transactions in securities, if you are arranging transactions in securities, then also you are providing a service. So the definition for service is very, simple. It means anything other than goods, money, securities, but includes activities wherein you are converting a currency into a different currency, or you are having such kind of activities wherein you are facilitating or arranging transactions in securities. Means you are providing a service. Okay. Coming to the third one, section 284, it is person. Who would pay tax? The answer is, sir, the person would pay the tax. So what is the meaning for person? It is section 284 here, the definition for person. Now, you all have, studied income tax, and in income tax the very first term was person. Okay, and I think you still remember the definition of person. Person includes an individual, HUF, firm, LLP, AO, PBOI, local authorities, company and artificial judicial person. That was the definition given there in income tax. Now all those elements, they are here also in the definition of person, and there is one more element over and above the elements given in the income tax definition, and that is the central or the state government. In income tax, government, maybe central, maybe state, is not taken as person. But in GST, even the government, central or state government, has been taken into person. Now you can read the definition. It goes like this: person includes individual, HUF, firm, LLP. In the definition here, LLP is separately given. Whereas in the definition in income tax, it is given only as firm. LLPs are included in firm there. Okay. AOP, BOI, now this is a new for GST. Corporations established under any central, state or provincial act. Any corporations which are established under any central, state or provincial act, they are also person. Okay. Their income tax, we covered them into local authorities. Okay. Now, next is company. Company include foreign companies also. Cooperative societies, covered there also income tax, covered here also. Local authority. This is the most highlighted point of this definition, the central or the state government. In fact, if you really make a comparison of the definition given in income tax and given here in GST, the only point of distinction is central and the state government. All other points, they are also there in the income tax definition of person. Okay, so if you remember that, just add central and the state government, and this would be a definition for person in GST. Now, all these sections here, they are for Central GST Act. These are the sections we are studying these terms from CGST Act, Central GST Act. Okay. Societies, trust and any other judicial persons. So this is the definition for person. Now coming to the next one. The next definition is for taxable person. Section 284, person, and after person we are now studying the definition for taxable person, and it is under section 2107. Okay. Now in income tax, first there is person and then there is an SSC. An SSC would always be from a person. Okay. Mostly who is an SSC? The person who would have to pay tax is an SSC. Right. Now again, here taxable person means a person who is either registered or who has the obligation to get himself registered. Where he would get registered? Either under section 22 or under section 24. Who is a taxable person? A taxable person is a person who is registered, already registered, or who has the obligation to get himself registered either under section 22 or section 24. What is section 22? Under section 22, if you are a supplier and your turnover has crossed the threshold limit, then under section 22, you have the obligation to get yourself registered. Okay. Once your turnover exceeds a particular limit, then you need to get yourself registered. Okay. You would be called a taxable person. If you are already registered, you are a taxable person. If you are into that segment where you have now the obligation to get yourself registered, okay, you would be called the taxable person. Section 24. Section 24, it is where you are into such a segment wherein the registration is compulsory for you. Section 24 speaks about the compulsory registration in GST. So if you are into such a segment, there you need to get yourself registered compulsorily, irrespective of what your turnover is. Compulsorily you need to get yourself registered. You would be called a taxable person. Okay. See the definition now. Section 2107, taxable person, a person who is registered or liable to get registered under section 22, where your turnover has crossed the threshold limit, or under 24, it is about the compulsory registration under GST. Okay. The next is again a very related term. It is casual taxable person. Section 220, casual taxable person. Now who is a casual taxable person? Let us first read the definition. Then I would give you an example of it. Okay. Please see. A person who occasionally undertakes transactions involving supply of goods, services or both in course of his business, whether as a principal or an agent, in a state where he has not a fixed place of business. What we are saying here is, a casual taxable person is a person who is undertaking certain business activities, maybe as a principal or maybe as a middleman, as an agent, and he is undertaking these activities at a place where he does not have a permanent place of business. Okay. Now, take an example and this would be clear to you. Let us suppose that X, he is a supplier here in Delhi. He is registered here at Delhi. He has got his place of business here at Delhi. Okay. Now, there is an exhibition next week in Mumbai, Maharashtra. Okay. Now, this dealer X from Delhi, he is going to Maharashtra, Mumbai, participating in that exhibition. Now, in that exhibition, he sold certain of his articles, his goods. Okay. Please see that he is a person who is now undertaking certain business activities, not in his state. In his state, he has got a permanent place of business, but in a state where he does not have any place of business. Okay. There, for that state, Mr. X, he would be called a casual taxable person. Very clear now? Now, the next one is under section 217, 217, and this is for business. Section 217, business. Okay. Business, whenever we speak about GST, normally what we say? We say that you may be into any kind of business, you are subject to GST. Okay. So what is the meaning of business? Business is a term here, and what all we have included in that term, we should know. We must know it. Okay. So what is the definition for business? Please see, it is a lengthy definition, but I have written that on board in in short. Okay. But the gist, the essence of the definition is completely covered here. Okay. Now, there are in all 6 points. In the definition of business, there are in all 6 points. Point number 1, business includes trade, commerce, profession, vocation, adventure, wager, or any similar activity or any ancillary activity, irrespective of the volume or the regularity of that activity. This is point number 1. Very simple. Business includes any trade, commerce, profession, vocation, venture, adventure, wager, or similar activities, and ancillary activities of these activities, and irrespective of the volume of the transaction, the regularities of the transaction. This is point number 1. Please see. Includes trade, commerce, manufacture, vocation, profession, wager, adventure, or similar activities and ancillary activities, irrespective of the volume or the regularity of these activities. Now coming to point number 2. Point number 2 is any activity related to supply or acquisition of goods, which also includes the capital goods. Please see. Which also includes the capital goods. Maybe when you are starting a business, when you are doing the business, or maybe at the time of closing down of the business. If you are doing these activities, your activities would be part of or would constitute business. Okay. Point number 3. Any club, society, any organization which facilitates its members any organization which is facilitating its members, okay, we would say that they are into a business. Okay. Point number 4, admission of a person for a consideration into a premises. You got a premises, okay, and you have put a ticket on entering into that, premises. We would say that you are into a business. Okay, see it again. Admission for a consideration into a premises constitute business here. It is included in the definition of business. Okay. Nowadays, I have seen, this practice nowadays in, hill areas. Many people there, I have seen this in a number of places. Many people there, they have, made a kind of herb garden where they have, put a ticket to enter into that garden. Now, if you are doing such kind of activities, they are covered into business. You are doing a business, so GST may apply on you. Okay. The next is activities of furtherance of business, profession or vocation. Now, when we have already covered, business, vocation, profession into point number 1, why it is so? Why it is covered here, in a different point, saying furtherance of these activities. Let us suppose that you are a professional and you are into your profession from last many years. Let us suppose that now you have taken or you have closed down your business now. Formally, initially you were having an office, now you have closed down that office. Let us suppose that you are a chartered accountant. Okay, you are into your own practice, you are having your own office. And now you have closed down your business, your profession, your office. Okay, but then after 6 months, certain person, he comes to you and he is asking for a certain advice. And you being a chartered accountant, a knowledgeable person, right? You are giving some advice and you are charging some consideration. Okay, this is what? This is furtherance of your profession. So if you are undertaking any activities in course of your business or in furtherance of your business or profession or vocation, this activity may be an isolated kind of activity, would be taken as business. The next point is race clubs acting as totalizator, Totalisator. Totalizator. Now this point you need to understand. Let me tell you the meaning of this term totalizator. Totalizator means it is a kind of computing system whereby the people who have put some money into a bet and those who have won that bet, the prize money would have to be distributed among the winners. So the system which does all this activity of arranging or distributing the prize money among the various winners of that bet, that technical system, that system is called the activity of totalizator. So if there is a race club and the race club is doing this kind of activity, the activities of a totalizator, then we would say that yes, the race club is into a business because the activities of totalizator, they are covered into business. The last point is specific to government. If the government, maybe central, maybe the state government, it is doing certain activities wherein they are acting as a public authority, then even those activities of government would be taken as business. Okay, please see, the government, if the government is undertaking such kind of activities, even the government is subject to GST. The government would have to pay GST. Okay, not for all of their activities. Certain activities where they are acting as a public authority. Okay, then yes, they may be subject to GST. Okay, so the definition of this term business is not difficult at all, but yes, it is a big definition, or quite large definition, because there are number of points, 6 points in all. Point number 1 says business includes any trade, commerce, profession, vocation, or maybe an adventure, or maybe a wager, similar activities or incidental ancillary activities of these activities, business. Point number 2, where you are supplying certain goods, maybe goods or capital goods, business. Number 3, the activity is undertaken by organizations like clubs, societies or associations, where they are facilitating their members, business. Number 4, admission of persons for a consideration into a premises, business. Number 5, there are 7 in all, not 6. Number 5, activities in furtherance of any business, profession or vocation. Number 6, the activity of totalizator by a race club amounts to business. And last one, activities of central government, state government engaging themselves as public authorities would constitute business. Okay. Now, there is a very, connected term, connected with this term business. And that term is, it is called the fixed establishment, section 250. Let me write that also here. Section 250. Fixed establishment. Fixed establishment, it means a place other than the registered place of your business, but where you have all the required resources, maybe human resources, maybe technical resources, for conducting or for providing services. Clear? Fixed establishment means a place other than your registered place of business, but that place is characterized by a sufficient degree of permanence, and you have your human resources here, your employees there, and the other, official gadgets, official equipments, computers, etc., for providing services, or you are getting some kind of service at that point, at that place, then it would be called your fixed establishment. Okay? Please write it. I would repeat, fixed establishment under section 250, it means a place other than the registered place of business, and which is characterized by a sufficient degree of permanence, which is characterized by a sufficient degree of permanence and having human and technical resources there to supply services or to receive services for your own needs. Full stop. Now, so we covered 7 terms. Okay. Still there are a number of other terms we need to cover, but I would conclude the session now. We have studied 7 terms, in detail, and the other terms we would continue in the next session. Thank you.